It's been a good few years since we looked at the Pentium 4, and I did promise you lot a while ago that we would find out just how painful it is to use in the real world and the modern world. So join me for a world of suffering. Now today, we want to go right back and dig out the original Socket 423 PC, which is the ideal beast for when it comes to testing Pentium 4s. The original iteration with RD RAM, and fortunately we did actually build a brilliant Socket 423 PC a while ago, but that has long since been languishing at the back of the shed, and things aren't exactly in the best shape for the PC. It's relatively covered in cobwebs, and things have definitely taken up residence within the computer. But other than that, it's been dry, it's been undercover, and it was working not too long ago, so things should be all okay. Or at least, that's how I started this video. So now we had it all out the shed, all that was left to do was to plug it all in and get it set up. But things didn't go quite as expected. See, I thought we'd plug it in and it would just work. But the PC was doing some rather confusing things before we eventually managed to get it going.
Why am I not getting any post signal? Does it have something to do with the spiders that were living in here? Oh, there's a legit actual spider that has subsided at some point on the SATA adapter. That's kind of, yeah, that's not ideal. All the power's connected. Yeah, it's got the weird extra power connector. It's got the RAM in there. Is that it? There's a long beep. Oh, that's... it's just one long beep over and over again. And then it just stops. And then in a couple of seconds, yep, we're back. It's got a long beep again. Oh my god, it's got weird RAM in it. I forgot about this. The good news is the cooler's working and the graphics card's working. So why is nothing else working? Why? Just beep. Oh. I hate computers. It is angry, but I haven't moved anything. All I did was move a spider. I think the spider might have been structurally integral to the computer. Why? Why? There's nothing plugged in. Alright, I've got to... Oh! That was a short bit. Ah! It's turned on! Could I tell you why? No. Can I tell you it's working? Yes. Good. Oh, it's on.
But this wasn't our main challenge. See, last time we used this PC, we had it running Windows 2000, Windows XP and Windows 7, and you can go back and watch the video if you want to see us using it in a realistic use environment. But we didn't push things as far as we want to take them today. No, when we talk about Pentium 4s in the modern day, that means using Windows 10 or 11. I'm opting for 10 because it's still in support, and it's not quite yet been fully replaced. And if we're going to be using it today, we are going to push it to its limits and use it properly. Now natively, the PC wouldn't take Windows 10 via a USB stick. It does support booting over USB because this is a really decent board, but these are still USB 1.1 ports, and Windows 10 wouldn't even be recognised on the system, with it either starting to load or just crashing to a screen asking for a system disk. Before jumping down any other avenues though, I thought one of the best things about Windows 10 is that it will self-configure if you take a hard drive out and put it in another system. So given we had a similarly aged Athlon system next to this, I plugged it all in and tried to get Windows 10 installed on there so we could transfer the install over. And the main thing being that because it's of similar age, any installation issues that we encounter should be the same across both systems. Maybe not exact one-to-one, given that one's AMD and one's Intel, but they're similar enough in age, and the Athlon system supports a lot more modern features, namely USB 2.0 for booting, which is a godsend compared to the ancient speeds of USB 1.1. To give you an idea of what that's good for, the original Xbox controllers used them, so controller inputs are probably the only use case you'd ever want to be using that. First issue we ran into was that Tiny 10 didn't want to work, which is a custom build of Windows 10 optimised for older computers and more lightweight systems, and it's ideally what we wanted to use to give things the best start. But no matter what we did, either the Socket 423 Pentium or the Athlon PC surrogate would simply load up with these weird symbols that I've not ever seen before either crashing and restarting or simply just locking up. Thankfully, I do still keep the original release of Windows 10 from when I think they called it developer preview builds or something like that, and it's before it came with loads of bloat, and we can easily remove the NX requirements from the ISO, which is the main thing limiting you from running it on older processors, and that's all we needed it to do to boot, which it did immediately. So within no time at all, we managed to get through the Windows 10 installation screen and have a version of Windows that was confirmed to be working, meaning all we had to do was take that SSD out of the Athlon PC and plug it into the Socket 423 PC, right? Well, no. See, the Socket 423 Pentium quickly recognised Windows 10 was on the SSD, so that's a great start, and it would start to boot up to it and then crash outright. We tried it a couple more times, indeed even tried different installations, but nothing seemed to work. Even on the other PC, worked absolutely fine. Just when we moved to the Pentium 4, it would crash, and it didn't matter if we installed it over an IDE hard drive, onto the SSD, even directly over to SATA, and then connecting it to the PC, the Pentium 4 was having absolutely none of it. And just to confirm that I wasn't being an idiot, I even installed Windows 7 using the exact same method, and it worked with no problems. So why is Windows 10 having issues? We know we don't have anything stopping us requirement-wise, so why isn't it working? The next attempt was a bit of insanity, loading the Windows 10 installer directly onto a hard drive and then plugging it in. So all the PC had to do was load from the slave IDE drive and then install to the master hard drive. And things were looking unexpectedly good, with the PC giving us the option to boot to the installer, and then loading us up to the Windows 10 screen, which, as you can probably guess by now, promptly crashed. Nothing seemed to make sense. This should by all accounts be working. This left us with one last resort. Can we load Windows 10 onto a DVD and see if we can get things to work in the most old school method that exists? That is beyond installing it to a floppy disk, but I don't even think you can buy enough floppy disks to install Windows 10 that way. I think Microsoft might actually sell a kit like that, but either way, DVD was the next choice. So I went out in the car, headed to Curry's and bought 10 blank DVDs, where they promptly gave me 50 instead of the original 10 I ordered, which at first I put down to standard Curry's not really caring behaviour. But it turns out the likely reason is because it's borderline impossible to get hold of quality blank DVD, so they gave me more than necessary so I wouldn't come back. Now I don't know if I'm able to show you this, this is a brand new disc. Can you see that scuff there? Just about there. These are brand new, and they've come in that condition. Another one there, a couple more there, just going round. This is a brand new HP disc. This is the kind of quality you get buying something brand new. Is that Curry's fault? Is that HP's fault? I don't know. But that is bad. Still, eventually we did find a DVD that would work, fired up Burnaware and loaded on the ISO, which had only one minor snag. See, I wasn't able to do it from my laptop with Windows 11 because that would crash out of the burning process. Fortunately, a full desktop running Windows 10 actually, worked, so we were able to make a bit of installation media, and I connected it all up to the Socket 423 system, which finally started to boot up, recognising the DVD drive as bootable, taking us further than we'd ever made it, and just when I thought we had it all, after 12 hours, the system had enough. Absolutely everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. It stopped turning on. We tried everything, changing out the RAM, changing out for 3 different graphics cards, and then the final nail in the coffin, I went to reseat the CPU, and it came out on the cooler. Oh well, not too much of a problem, this has happened before. You usually just whack them on the hairdryer, get them red hot, and give them a quick shove from underneath. Only this time, things did not go as planned, with probably the smoothest accidental D-lid anyone has ever done. People pay for specialist tools to do this, and We've done it in a very sketchy method. Fortunately, the CPU was still intact, but it was looking more and more like the legendary Socket 423 system just wasn't going to want to turn back on at all today, and was going to need some serious repairs for use in the future. Now, some people would stop here and go, nope, we've had enough, that's enough of the Pentium 4, we've spent an entire day and made no progress. But that wouldn't be like a budget builds video. Nope, if I say we're going to be putting Windows 10 on a Pentium 4 and finding out what it does in the modern day, that is exactly what we're going to be doing. So I ended up in the loft and found 3 different untested Pentium 4 systems before rushing them back downstairs. The first of the systems, an Asus board, didn't want to work for some unknown reason. The next one, an even older DDR1 based Asus board, also didn't want to work, but fortunately the final board of the lot, and the one I wasn't expecting to work, a Viglin Intel board, worked. Just about. It was not happy with working, but we did have a secondary Pentium 4 PC to use.
Right, so what we're going to do to make things a little bit more fair, given that this isn't using RD RAM, we're going to give it another gig of rather nice Corsair RAM, so it's at least running in dual channel. Let's get that clipped in. Is that the right way? Yep, that's all in. And then to keep things a bit more authentic, we're going to take this out of here because I hate that I still use this thing for testing. Lovely. And we are going to pop in, wherever I might have put it down, somewhere. Who knows? Here we are. We're going to use a Matrox graphics card. This time the C680, because this is actually relatively powerful. In fact, it runs Red Dead Redemption 2, so we're being more than generous to the Pentium 4 here by giving it DDR2 RAM running in dual channel, a big beefy cooler, and keeping in fashion with everything. If we can't use the Parhelia, we're going to use the C680. So it's as close as we can sort of get, while still keeping in the theme of the video, of how painful is the Pentium 4 to use. We've got Windows 10 loaded up, the original release, and let's see how it all goes.
Windows 10 did actually, thankfully, at last boot and install. It took a little bit of time and it wasn't all smooth sailing with the PC wanting to restart a couple of times, but you can't really complain after yesterday's 12-hour struggle. The initial launch of Windows took nigh on forever, with the PC saying it was going to be ready for an awful long time. I honestly thought it had crashed, but from start to finish, from the install to the desktop, with an SSD and, plenty of opportunities here. There was no thermal throttling, anything. This was on a more powerful Prescott Pentium 4. It took 2 hours. There were also signs that things were going to just be this slow throughout. I know Windows 10 is a lot to ask on these old systems, but 2 hours start to finish is actually impressive. Over SATA, with an SSD, with USB installation. Oh, it was painful.
This is unique to the Pentium 4. It asks you for a password when there's nothing set while also loading Windows. How? How does it do this? Everything I have tried to do has been non-stop pain. There you go, at least it launches. So, back on with the video. Oh. Why can't it be over?
Initially, things weren't great, but they also weren't too bad. We were able to use Edge to try and find some drivers, and we did eventually have to change over to a slightly different graphics card from the Matrox C680, as to keep RAM usage low, we're using x86 rather than 64-bit. But Matrox, well, they're all in on the 64-bit market. I'm sure they probably do some legacy 32-bit drivers, but at this point, I just wanted to have something up and running. And I had a Radeon 5670 lying around, which is more than enough power for a Pentium 4. So either way, we've got a new graphics card in there and it's more than capable of helping out the Pentium. But things were struggling more and more as time went on, with the PC wanting to regularly lock up while attempting to do more than one thing, something that was never an issue on older operating systems, and it didn't help that Windows 10, even in one of its most lightweight forms, was still taxing the processor at anywhere between 50 to 100% randomly with background tasks, causing a pipeline stall. For those of you that don't know, the Pentium 4 series of processors processors, they have a really long pipeline for processing data. So if something goes wrong, it has to go back to the start. When you're doing something ideal, like running a game that's optimized for it or doing some video editing, well, it works ideal. When it's thrown up against Windows 10 with no optimizations, it spends a lot of time just stalling and just waiting and loading. So for the most part, general usage was going fairly awfully, with the system wanting to lock up at any given opportunity still. That wasn't to say it was unusable, as that would discredit the Pentium 4, like a 20-year-old processor at this point, as it was begrudgingly coping okay. Very, very slowly, on the verge of looking like it crashed a lot of the time, but it did work, and I did record a quick section of us using the Pentium 4 live, just to give you an idea of what it's like in more of a real-time experience.
Right, before anything crashes again, we are actually going to try and test the Pentium 4. You can probably hear it down next to me. It sounds like a leaf blower going off. Right. First things first, do we actually have graphics drivers now? Yes, we do. Right, that'll do. Those are drivers. That'll do. Not installing anything else. Can we do a quick test of the internet? Why not? It's not too slow now. It's not too slow. So if we go to Google. Bing searching Google seems bad. It's taken a long time to get here with a modern operating system, and you know, anywhere, and you know, having Edge open up multiple things in different tabs is not ideal. But can we go to budgetbuildsofficial.co.uk? Loading that on a Pentium 4 seems brilliant. Right, budgetbuildsofficial.co.uk. Can we get on the website on a Pentium 4 running modern Windows? Can we? Please? It has been days getting up to this point, I'd like to say. It has been actually days. That's it. That'll do. That's a website. Here you go. Does anything load? No. Get a blurry version of the logo. And shopping basket, which also doesn't work. Very nice. So, no, you can't do that. Can you go on eBay? Can we go on eBay? Of course, it Bing searches because this is awful. First link is for Amazon. That is a very scary advert. I don't like that at all. I do like that, though. Can we load an MGB GT? It takes you to the Microsoft shopping page. Oh, this is an awful experience. And now it's going to ask us about something and probably crash the system. How are we doing for our processor usage right now? Probably 100%. We 100%? No! Yes! It's trying to scan for viruses again, which last time we turned off crashed the PC. Let's try and turn that off again. Settings. Updates and security. Windows Defender. Turn off. Go away. Can we turn off Firewall as well while we're at it? Anything security related you can't do. Searching the settings menu, you also can't do. Right. Go away. Oh, this is painful. Come on. Move. Go away. Open File Explorer then. Do something. Oh. Okay, that's gone away now. Can we go back? Can we go back? Can we go back? No, we can't go back. Can we get rid of that? Okay, that's fine. Problem solved. Explorer.exe is broken again. Everything's broken. Task Manager is now not responding. Again. I suppose all we can do next is try and load some benchmarks. And we'll see how that goes. This has been a long video. It's very hot, and the Pentium 4's not helping.
We're now, what I'd say, about 20 minutes into Steam loading. It's getting there. It's getting there. Eventually, we'll do a benchmark on the PC. But for now, we just watch that go round. And I'd say give it 45 minutes to, 3 days. We'll have Steam loaded. And we'll be getting somewhere. It's not going to happen, is it? Let's try and do a benchmark. Something, anything. And, well, the benchmarks. Well, we were near enough, almost a full 48 hours in the sweltering heat, working on a very hot Pentium 4 processor. So please enjoy a brief segment showcasing the gaming prowess of the Pentium 4 on Windows 10, a very taxing operating system for the processor, where it took me so long to load the games that I ended up just recording the overview live, so you can actually see me experiencing it in real time. Because that's the only way to talk about this experience, is to convey it to you in a way where you are having to see exactly what I went through. So enjoy the benchmarks.
Now with mounted blades you can tell we're off to a good start because the cursor doesn't move, yet it's moving somewhere. So if we try and go to a custom battle, the cursor just doesn't move, so we have to sort of guess where it is. Oh! Right. Start. That's not meant to happen. In fact, this actually runs okay on a Pentium 4. But not today. No, today it's decided. Oh, now we're actually in game. 40 FPS, 42 FPS. I think we're running predominantly high settings. Must be in some sort of high definition resolution because it looks quite nice for how this game looks, but there we go. Mount and Blade Warband seems to be running okay. It didn't take that long to load. The mouse cursor doesn't actually work in-game, which is definitely not a great thing. What happens when we get right into the heat of battle? It doesn't actually change too much. Right, that'll do. I've just accidentally dropped the weapon we need. So we'll just go for the old getting knocked down by a horse and probably losing the battle in a second. But no, seems okay here. Definitely should run better than this, and it definitely has some weird issues on Windows 10, but, not too bad. I'd call that a reasonably playable experience overall. So, there we go. Mount and Blade Warband. Right, we finally made it into Half-Life 2. This one wasn't too bad. It only took 15 minutes to load to this point. I'm not going to change any of these things, but these are the settings it's defaulted to for the PC. So if we go to New Game, can we access any more of these? No? Have I got a save game already on here? No, but we'll go with this autosave. And we'll see how things run. See, it's always worth me showing you the loading, because I can cut out the game launching. But this is from an SSD as well. Yep. Ah, we're in game. And it seems pretty playable. Yeah, this isn't too bad actually. I mean, there's definitely some frame drops that weren't there. But if we just run around here. It's also worth stressing, this is the original 2004 release as well, so it's not like we're being harsh on the Pentium here. There are definitely some frame drops in places, I don't know if you can see them. Yeah, there's definitely some frame rate issues happening here that don't happen as much on Windows XP. Rather laggy for a 3GHz Pentium 4, actually. This ran better on Socket 423 when we were on Windows 2000. Oh, this is not good. Yeah. I mean, I've seen worse. I've definitely seen worse. But Windows is probably using every bit of resource we have left. It looks nice, though. I'll say that much. You have the authentic Pentium 4 experience enhanced with even more frame drops. So, Half-Life 2, all good. just worse than it usually is. But finally, can it run Crysis? And from what I can see here, it took about 25 minutes to load, but once you actually get in game, we're seeing over 30 FPS, which isn't too bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not ideal, and the performance is, you know, pretty bad in places. I mean, we're seeing, what, 20 FPS here, 19 FPS? Yeah, it's not doing too great. But, yeah, Crysis, 20, 22, 23, 24. Oh, this isn't great, but no, Crysis does run. When you're not actually getting up to too much, it runs pretty decently as well. So there we have it. You can indeed play Crysis on a Pentium 4 running one of the latest versions of Windows. It's just not going to be very good. But could that be the Pentium 4 that we can hear down there? Or could that just be how this runs? I don't know. I don't really want to blame it on anything, but you know, this is all right. This is better than I remember it running on the Pentium 4, which isn't saying much. So maybe for Crysis, Windows 10 is the way to go. I mean, look at this pop-in. That's beautiful. It's like the world is loading around you as the Pentium 4 thinks. You can actually see it thinking. Amazing.
So there we have it, the Pentium 4 versus 2024, and I would say it went fairly awfully. Realistically, this video could have been scrapped, with multiple boards dying and only one awful board left standing for us to get some testing done on. And, you know, I don't think it did too awfully, given that we were putting it through its paces quite a lot, but this video was hell to make. Realistically, what we should do is build an ultimate Pentium 4 PC to actually give this thing the best shot possible and see exactly what the Pentium 4 has left for us, rather than an old Prescott left lying around in the loft. But even then, we did give it an SSD and a very lightweight version of Windows 10, and it struggled monumentally. When tasks ran, it was perfect, but the loading was horrendous, with Windows just causing that pipeline to stall at any given opportunity. I hope you've all enjoyed the monumental suffering it was just to find out how well the Pentium 4 is holding up, and if there's interest, well, I don't see any reason why we can't push things even more with a full high-spec Pentium 4 machine. Maybe the most powerful Pentium 4 machine possible, maybe even overclocking. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and good night.
So badly, it's actually delidded the original Pentium 4. I assume these were soldered. I think they are soldered. Got no idea. But delid with a butter knife.